One of my favourite action games ever is Ninja Gaiden 2. I have such fond memories hacking and slashing my way through a bunch of different enemies across this sequel in particular, even though I wasn't very good at it, nor was I very good at its predecessor. In fact, I was probably very, very bad at both games, and I don't actually think I finished the first one because I was too young, couldn't get to grips with it, but the second one I enjoyed a bit more. But there is one moment in that game which is epic for kind of the wrong reason, and that's, I think, in Chapter 10, where you have this awesome stairway fight where you just have to get to the top of this incredibly long stairway, but the game throws like hundreds of enemies at you at once, which it hasn't really until that point. You've had big groups, but nothing of this scale, and you're making your way up this stairway, you're slashing through people, you're covered in blood, there are insurmountable odds that you're getting over. But the epic thing about it is that the game can't handle it, and it just tanks when it gets to this bit, on the original Xbox at least, and it just slows it down to the point where you're practically playing the game in slow motion. So you're doing all of these cool moves, you're taking on these epic hordes all in slow-mo, and the game hasn't really done this until this point, and it's totally like an issue. It's because the game can't handle that many enemies at once, and there's slow down other parts of the game. But this was for the whole bit, to the point where my younger self was kind of questioning whether or not it was an artistic decision, because it was so awesome and it made the fight seem even more spectacular, that I was like, this has to be intentional, this has to be on purpose, it has to throw you into slow-mo and then stop when you get to the top of the staircase. But looking online now, apparently it's become this kind of mythical thing that it's this mistake and it happens kind of by accident, just so they can stop the game from crashing, I guess. But everyone seems to love it and agree that it kind of adds to the spectacle of the moment in such a weird way, considering that frame rate tanking just usually breaks any action sequence. But it seems like an intentional workaround here, because it's not present on the Xbox Series X version of the game, which smooths everything out and makes it run at a stable frame rate. And that version of the game is fine, but I like the kind of Zack Snyder, slow-mo down version of the fight a little bit more. And for some reason, that's like one of my most fondest gaming memories ever, like getting through that level and doing it in that way. It felt good, man. For someone who was crap at Ninja Gaiden, that section was good stuff.
So something accidental that used to happen in video games, I'm not sure if it's been patched out now, but in Fallout 4, there was an amazing thing that happened where you would be in a conversation with someone talking about your settlement and, trying to figure out what's going on in the world because you've just been brought back after hundreds of years, and people would just get attacked mid-conversation by deathclaws and ghouls and bandits and stuff, and it was hilarious. It was so funny when you're trying to have this really intricate, intense moment with father or one of your other sidekicks along the way that are trying to help you out, and we're gonna help you out, buddy, we'll figure out what's going on here, and then they just get slashed by a death claw mid-sentence. It's hilarious, and I don't know if it's something that has been patched out. I haven't played Fallout 4 in a good long while, but it just used to crack me up. The fact that you could just see these things running up behind the person. It was so funny just watching them sprint up like, oh, got my eyes on you, buddy. And there was just, you could exit out and technically kill them before they got there, but it was just so much funnier watching the person that you were talking to just get annihilated mid-conversation. It was hilarious, and I just thought it was just the funniest thing, and I really hope that it's still in the game.
The video game moment that was accidentally awesome for me wasn't necessarily an accident. It's more awesome because there is such a low chance of it happening, and that is relating to CSGO. Counter-Strike Global Offensive has become my lockdown video game. It's something that I've owned for years, but I've never actually gotten into playing it until a bunch of friends and I just decided to start playing competitively as a team, and I've had an absolute blast doing so. And one of the things that Counter-Strike is very well known for is having weapon skins and cases to unbox, etc. I'm not someone who throws money at games when they have microtransactions available. I only ever do it in games that I know for a fact that I play. So I did it during Team Fortress 2, I put a lot of money into TF2 during university, I did it during my main sort of bunkle time with Rocket League, and now I'm doing it with CSGO. And interestingly, my luck with CSGO unboxings has been pretty good. After opening just any old crate, I unboxed a StatTrak Covert M4A1S Player 2. It's garish, it's gross, but it's also kind of beautiful in the fact that I managed to unbox this thing. Now, I don't use the M4A1S, I use the M4A4 on the CT side, but I still took it out for a spin in a couple of matches just to see it in my hands. The fact that I didn't use it made it a lot easier to sell, and that I did, because at the time, this particular weapon at this particular wear, I don't remember what wear it was worth about 75 bones. So I sold it and got about 65 quid for it, which I then proceeded to pre-order Cyberpunk 2077 with. So the case itself was free because I got it as a drop after playing competitive matches. The key I paid £2 for, I unboxed that, sold it, so I basically made my money back for the £2 for the key and pre-ordered Cyberpunk for free. Now, the actual statistics as to how rare it is to unbox this specific type of weapon isn't really that known, but from what I've seen, it looks to be like 0.05% for a stat track covert. If people in the comments know CSGO skin stuff better than me, please correct me, but it's very, very thin. And yet a couple of months later, I unboxed a stat track covert AWP that I'm still using.
Oh, God. Yes! And it's stat track.
It's not very good, it's not worth as much, but it's a stat track covert. My case unboxing is pretty good, apparently. So that, and annoyingly it means that I keep unboxing stuff in hopes that one day I see another covert again.
Right, so my one was very recent actually, and it's in Fall Guys, and I really, really dislike the tail tag. Well, any stages in Fall Guys where you've got to grab a tail, and it's just so boring having to chase people, and then, you know, like them being like a mile away, and then you just getting your tail swiped, and I really dislike that. So tail tag stage, I was really bored of it. I just wanted to like farm XP and kudos, and I just kind of like gave up a little bit right at the start. And so in the stage there's this big giant hammer which revolves and revolves around in the middle stage, and I walked up to it on the edge of it, and then I just held my arms out like that and just held the grab button, and then eventually there was this one guy who walked into the hammer, got smashed into me, and I ended up getting a tail because he was an idiot and I'm just standing there with my arms out like that. And yeah, it was just hilarious really, and I managed to save it as well, because like you can hear my little stupid dickhead cackling in recording. But yeah, just bloody well enjoy it because it's funny.
Accidental moments. Well, to me, the first thing that I thought of was when I just came over a hill in Skyrim and just saw a giant just lamp a dragon. I just remember, you know, that whole idea at the start of the 2000s, and it sort of came in with like Far Cry 3, and that idea of, you know, just stumbling upon a couple of different AI scripts overlapping and these, you know, different dynamic interactions that every individual player is going to see. And they, you know, I saw some different gangs fighting in Far Cry 3, and I kind of got what they were going for, and it was like semi-cool. But in Skyrim, when that game, you know, just things just happen upon each other, maybe you're on a main quest and your target just gets taken out by something, some random wildebeest or whatever that's like coming in from the side. They're not wildebeests, are they? Those things with the big tusks, you know them. They've one of them. You know, when they come in and they take out something that you're otherwise trying to take seriously, it's pretty great. And I remember just coming around a corner, just watching a giant walk up to a dragon and just knock it the hell out. And it was amazing. It was brilliant. I just ran down there, gathered up all the bones, and took them back to Winterhold or Winterfell or whichever one it was in Skyrim. 2011 was a long time ago. Game of Thrones wasn't. And I just remember thinking that was the coolest thing ever. So for me, it's just all those weird dynamic interactions that, you know, we get told are going to happen, and you want to see something cool. The rare occasions when they come true are just brilliant.
So in terms of accidentally amazing video game moments that have happened to moi, I probably have about 50 different contenders for the Did Not Happen of the Year awards, if they're still a thing. And the one that always seems to come to my mind is a game I'm very nostalgic for, which is Battlefield Bad Company 2. Now, one of my favourite things to do in Bad Company 2, even though I'm terrible at flying in the newer games, was to take control of the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter and fly around and let my mates in the side turrets just go absolutely ham with the miniguns. It was a great time, had a great time doing it, because all the other pilots in Bad Company 2 would either immediately get into the helicopter and then crash, or they would just fly around too quickly and the minigunners on the sides would just be like, well, you're not going to let me kill anyone if you do that. So anyway, I'm getting to the thing. Right, so we're on a map called Valparaiso, I think it's called. It's the one with the one helicopter and then the giant lighthouse. It's in South America. And I'm doing my thing. with the Black Hawk. I'm just flying around. My mate's racking up loads of kills. It's a great time, having a great time. And then what happens is the enemy team are obviously firing rockets at me. And I'm doing my thing, weaving and dodging and doing all that. And then as I'm staying stationary for a period of time, one fires an RPG at me. But it goes straight through the middle of the helicopter's crew compartment and misses me. And I couldn't believe what had happened. I was just like, what? Did anyone see that? And this was the days before, conveniently you might say, these were the days before you could just simply hit a button and record everything that had just happened. So there was no video evidence for such an event ever having happened. But it did happen, I think. It was 10 years ago now, which is a wild thing to say about Battlefield Bad Company 2, that game being 10 years old. But it definitely did happen, and no one can take it away from me, even though I'm beginning to doubt myself as I explain this story. It definitely happened. It has to have happened. If it didn't happen, then everything's a lie, which wouldn't be good. I definitely don't... The person, we'll find him out there somewhere, the person who fired the rocket through the middle of the Black Hawk, giving me one of my fondest gaming memories ever. It definitely happened. Right.